Hi, and welcome to this week's video. It is incredibly special for me because I get to feature a longtime friend, and I mean 20 plus years longtime friend, who happens to be incredibly knowledgeable in the area of menopause and the effects thereof, the treatment thereof, all the ways to manage menopause. In fact, she's so knowledgeable. She wrote this big book. And this is your second edition, is it not?
It is.
It is. Okay. Barbie, I have to tell you, Dr. Barbie Taylor is who we're with today. Barbie, whenever I do a Q&A video, I mean, half of the questions are related to menopause and
Sure.
midlife issues. And I figured, you know what? I am going to bring you on and we're going to go through the gamut because what I love about Barbie, and Barbie has a YouTube channel, by the way, I'm going to provide links to all of her information and content so you know exactly where to find her. But Barbie has this meticulous way of cataloging her videos and her subject matter. And what I love about it, Barbie, is that you initially started with menopause, how to manage it, but you have also morphed it into the other health issues that women in midlife and beyond face. And you have gone into heart disease. You are really delving into Alzheimer's and mental health. Let's touch upon all of it. So, first of all, just give everybody your background if this is the first time they are seeing and meeting you.
My background. Well, I'm a retired obstetrician, gynecologist, and gynecologic surgeon, and I retired about 20 years ago because of severe arthritis. And I realized that menopause is quite literally the most neglected topic on our entire planet, even though half of the world's population spends half of their lives in the state of menopause.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this has to change, and women deserve a real education on menopause, not coercion, not advertising, not marketing, not someone telling them how to manage their menopause someone else's way.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to embark on this huge journey of giving women everything they need to know about menopause. And, it's a hard sell. I mean, I picked the most unpopular topic on the planet. I turned my YouTube channel into a classroom. But when women discover that I don't have an angle or a product and that all I do is teach them everything, and I teach them how to tailor it to themselves and make good choices, they start learning everything in a way that they never have before. And they just love understanding this stuff for the first time in their lives. And they see what a big picture it is. And so I just spend all my time doing this now. And I make the videos and I have one-on-one consultations with women all over the world by video.
Mm-hmm.
And I help them make sure they tailor all the information specifically to themselves. So that's my background. I have some other education behind me. I have a law degree and a business degree. I've never really worked in those realms specifically, but they do come in handy in terms of looking at everything from different perspectives, which I pretty much do with everything in life.
Right. So
Yeah.
you're well-versed and well-rounded in many areas, which makes you a fabulous expert in this field. So let's talk to the woman who may be watching this and she's at square one, right? She knows she's going through midlife. She knows she's got the symptoms. She's not feeling great about herself. What's the first step?
The first step really is education, because I have to tell you, menopause, I call it puberty in reverse, because every single woman on the planet is going to go through menopause. There is no way out of it except death. And the truth is, you really were supposed to die. We're really outliving our ovaries. And that's okay. We're happy to outlive our ovaries, but there are consequences to outliving an organ and then living in a deficiency state, a hormone deficiency state. And so really you have to understand what it is that's going on in your body to make you have all those symptoms, and what are the long-term consequences. See, that's the part no one's telling them. People are talking about hot flashes and how it turns your life upside down, et cetera, which is true. But that's not the big ticket item. The big ticket item is to realize that all hormone deficiencies on our planet cause about 20 symptoms that make you feel horrible in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't know how to compensate for the loss of that hormone, there are fatal diseases in the long term.
Yep.
And that's exactly how it is with menopause. And the three diseases that are due to estrogen deficiency are heart attack, osteoporosis, and Alzheimer's. But there's all kinds of ways to make sure you compensate, and you just have to know what all those options are. And so I think of it as a great big smorgasbord of options in every category: diet, lifestyle, vitamins, minerals, supplements, herbs, hormonal medications, non-hormonal medications, what have you. But the key is to know the capabilities and the limitations of each and every option, because you cannot apply magical thinking. You have to know what each thing can do, what each thing cannot do, and you have to know thyself too. I mean, come on, be honest with yourself. If you know you're never going to exercise to prevent a heart attack, don't pretend you will, because you'll be sorry. And so I help women deal with their reality. I meet them where they are. I'm not here to judge anybody. And I'm not here to tell anyone how to manage their menopause my way.
Right. It's very personalized.
Very personalized.
Yeah.
And it's really, I just give information. And, the women realize that I tell the whole truth and the whole story, and that I guess I really just don't have any filter between my brain and my mouth. And so they just love seeing that I tell them everything about how the system works, the flaws in the system, the shortcomings, all kinds of things, and how to advocate for themselves to get whatever it is they want and be successful at it. And that's really my goal. I don't have any reason to have a preference as to how someone manages their menopause. I'm not going to gain anything one way or another. I don't have any reason not to tell them the truth, and they can see that right off. And that's the value, because I'm the only person on the planet giving women an education, a pure education.
Yeah, no, it is like going to class, watching your videos, truly. And you structure it that way too.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you about estrogen. You focus a lot on it. I think a lot of women got really freaked out from that NIH study from many, 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 many years ago. Let's talk about that. And let's talk about debunking the myths of estrogen.
Yeah. Well, remember, I use all these props and models when I do my videos. And
right.
I think laughing and learning really go well together. So what I do when I talk about hormones is I talk about all the hormones. And there are 3 sex hormones. And I always liken them to the 3 bears in Goldilocks and the 3 bears. There's Papa Bear, there's Mama Bear, and there's Baby Bear.
Right.
And I use these bears because you know how each bear had his own bed, chair, and porridge? That's how the sex hormones work. Exactly the same way. Papa Bear's hormone is testosterone. Mama Bear's hormone is estrogen. Baby Bear's hormone is progesterone. The only reason women have progesterone in our bodies is to protect the pregnancy. Progester, as in gestation, own is the hormone in support of pregnancy. So that's the reason we have it. So it's not our hormone. We have it to protect the pregnancy. So the first thing to understand is you've been walking around producing estrogen by the bucketful for the 35 or 40 years of your reproductive life. And you love the way you felt and you loved the way you looked. And then post-menopause or menopause is when you lose your female hormone estrogen, your mama bear hormone. And that's when you start feeling horrible.
Right.
And you start thinking, oh my God, I don't look so good anymore. But women are afraid of estrogen, and I'm all about logic. Okay, I'm a nerd. I question everything, and I'm all about logic. And so when women go, oh, but it's bad for me, and you don't want to be estrogen quote dominant, and blah blah. And I'm like, well, what else would you be? And they go, huh? And I'm like,
you'd have nothing.
It's your hormone. It's who you are. Would you ever hear a man say that he thinks his testosterone is horrible for him?
Too high? Yeah, or doesn't want to be testosterone dominant.
Exactly. And so I want you to get the logic first. Just let's be commonsensical about things. How did your estrogen go from being good to bad if indeed it is bad for you? So the first thing to get over is this idea that estrogen is some demon.
Well, I think the media, and I hate to say that as a journalist, but I think the media played a huge role in that.
Well, absolutely. They did. And there's so much misinformation and again, coercion and marketing and advertising.
Yes.
And face it, we live in a world that is full of advertising. I always say there's a very fine line between ed, which is educating, and ad, which is advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And most people only get advertising and no educating. And they kind of don't really know the difference anymore because there is so little educating out there. And so I always want people to come to the conclusions and logic using connecting the dots like that. And I go like, so how did your estrogen go from being good to bad? And I always get this deer in the headlights stare like, I mean,
don't
you
know.
can do whatever you want to do. That's not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
You get to do whatever you want to do for your menopause. You don't have to answer to anybody, please anybody, or anything. But make sure it makes sense and make sure you're doing whatever you choose to do for the right reasons for you. For you, okay? And it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. But we live in a very copycat world,
Mm-hmm.
and people just look at other people and ask them what to do, and they follow a celebrity and they copy. It's shooting in the dark, copying people. And
Sure.
that's not going to get you very good results because women are not robots. We're not all alike. There's nothing that is right for every single woman.
Mm-hmm. And
We're all
isn't it multi-pronged based on, and obviously you have to have blood work done. I mean, you've got to see what is going on inside your body, but also how you feel in your body says as much as the blood work does.
I think it says more.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any contest between the two. In fact, I
Yes.
tell women this. I say the only opinion that matters is your bodies,
Mm-hmm.
not your brains, because your brain is a product of all the advertising and the hype and the scare tactics and all. Okay, not your brain,
Right.
your body. And here's the thing: our bodies talk to us,
Mm-hmm.
but humans refuse to listen to their bodies.
Yes.
Instead, humans listen to Dr. Google, good celebrities, advertising, marketing, hype, scare tactics,
Mm-hmm.
labs, you name it. So I get woman after woman after woman. She feels horrible.
Yep.
And she says, but my labs say this. And I go, how's it
Yep.
working for you?
Right.
And they're like, and I'm like, you can either treat the lab or you can treat your body. Your body is telling you loudly and clearly
Mm-hmm.
what its deficiencies are. There are specific symptoms for estrogen deficiency, specific symptoms for progesterone deficiency, specific symptoms for testosterone deficiency. There's symptoms for every deficiency and every excess. It's not that hard to figure out what your body needs if you let your symptoms tell you. And women who do that, they prove to themselves what they needed by trying what their symptoms dictate. And they're always so surprised at how, oh my God, they feel so much better. I'm like, why are you so surprised? Because they were busy listening to everyone else and thinking that that's what should work for them. And when it doesn't and they're miserable, they can't understand it. I'm like, because you're listening to everybody else.
Right. But you bring up such a good point in terms of listening and being heard, because, and you know this, Barbie, not every doctor is going to spend a great deal of time listening to a woman's myriad of symptoms. And so what do you tell women? Because I know they come to you for consultation and they can't physically see you in person. They've got to find a practitioner where they are who is going to listen and execute. And yeah, it is trial and error. Yeah, sometimes you've got to try this. Maybe the dosage isn't enough. Maybe you've got to go higher. Maybe you have to go lower. How do you encourage women to find somebody who's going to truly hear them and help diagnose?
Well, my take on it is this. Unfortunately, because menopause is the most neglected topic on our planet,
Yep.
there's no menopause education in medical school. It's neglected in every sector of our society, every part of our being. So I tell women to understand that after they've had a consultation with me, they know 90% more than most doctors. And when I do a consultation, I have this huge questionnaire, 17 pages, and they have to fill it all out. It's mostly yes, no, click this, click that. But they tell me all about their situation. I write them a document with the entire overall education on menopause and all of their particular stuff inserted into it so they see where they fit. I send it to them 4 days before the consultation and tell them to read the whole thing. They're usually like 90 to 100 pages. They're long. I give them everything. And then when they have the consultation, they can make so much progress because they have that background. And so many of them go, oh my God, I read it like 3 or 4 times and my mind has changed completely. I'm like, we can do whatever you want, but I want you to understand the whole picture so that you make your decisions with facts, not fear. And they make all kinds of progress. And then I teach them how to find a menopause manager. I call it a menopause manager because it doesn't matter whether it's an MD or a DO or a nurse practitioner or it doesn't matter who you go to. What matters is that they help you manage your menopause your way. And I tell them to think of that doctor as their employee. That person is supposed to help them do what they want. But here's the catch. It's kind of a lot like finding a husband. It is, because really, here's what I say to them. I say, the person with whom you manage your menopause is the person with whom you are going to grow old.
It's literally a big deal.
Literally, you're talking about the next 50 years, the second half of your life.
Yes.
And that person is going to be in charge of giving you what you want to. That's you go choose well. It's like picking a husband. And so I tell them how to structure questions so that they can interview face to face or online any doctor in 5 minutes and know whether or not they're a good fit. Because that is the key. Don't go asking your girlfriends, how do you like your doctor? Who should I go to? What would you, don't ask other people. You know what once you get the education and you know what your goals are, it's easy to find the person of your dreams. And you know, speaking of goals, you know, my motto is begin with the end in mind. Because everything you do for your menopause needs to be in line with your goals. And the minute you say, my goals are this, but I'm going to do this, you're going to end up in never land. I mean, you're not going to end up where you wanted to be. This is where it comes back to knowing the capabilities and limitations of everything. Because if you're not putting one foot in front of the other toward your goals, you're going to end up somewhere else later on. And so I make sure they understand how to avoid that and how to go find a person who is going to manage their menopause their way, even if it means traveling. And, you know, I've lived on every continent except Antarctica. And every year, no matter where I have lived, I have gotten on an airplane and flown all the way to my own gynecologist, even though I can prescribe myself anything I want. I still need my exam and stuff. I can't do that myself. So I get on a plane. I have flown from Australia and South Africa and Malaysia and South America and Canada and all over Europe. And I tell the woman, I say, if I can fly for 20 hours to go see my doctor, you can drive for 20 years.
Because it's that important. It is that important when you find somebody who can fit you with the proper remedies, treatments, supplementation, whatever it is. And you touched upon this earlier. And I have found as I'm going through midlife, it is so multi-pronged. I mean, I started hormone replacement therapy in my 40s. It has completely changed as I'm now 54, as it will as I get even older. But I find that there are so many other things that have come into play. Supplementation, sleep, meditation, exercise, changing how I exercise. You know, you're a big yoga practitioner. I have now done a complete 180 and have just did like a nosedive into yoga. And I'm the happiest person I think I could ever be, because it's changed my life, because my body was telling me it was time for a change in how you're exercising and how you're moving. So all of these things affect how I feel going through menopause and midlife. And you're vegan, you touch upon diet quite a bit. So let's talk about what I think of as the accompaniments to all of this.
Well, you know, your body gets to where it cannot tolerate what it used to tolerate. Okay. This is part of aging and it's part of menopause. And, you know, I teach women that the foods that their body will allow them to eat, literally allow them to eat, will change. And you can either go through life, the rest of your life, fighting to eat all the food you like and feeling miserable. Or you can just listen to your body and be happy. And, you know, I always say that anytime there's a battle between your brain and your body is going to win. It is either
Right.
going to get what it wants and make you a happy person, or it isn't going to get what it wants and you are going to be miserable. It doesn't matter what you read or what someone said or what you believe or
Mhm.
what you heard or none of that matters.
Yeah.
And so I think all of us have certain foods that we can't digest the same way we used to as we get older, or it may be that you can't eat a big meal at the end of the day like you used to. It can be any kind of ramification with regard to diet and food. But the key is you have to listen to what your body wants. It's a lot like, it happens with pregnant women and breastfeeding. The same thing. They find that they want certain things that they never wanted before. They
Mhm.
find that they can't eat certain things when they're breastfeeding because the baby will reject the breast. This discovery process is a part of every hormonal change we have. And so I think this is no different. I think the same with exercise. I tell women, as you get to your menopausal time of life,
Mhm.
there are three things about exercise that you have to get over.
Mhm.
Let them go. I mean, those days are behind you. And the biggest one is impact.
Yes,
The
100%.
running and the jumping and the
Yeah,
taking both feet off the ground, that the
100%.
body can't take that anymore.
No.
The second one is speed, the go, 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 faster, faster, faster. And the third is heavy weights.
Mhm.
And I think as we get older, we have to slow down, pay more attention to form.
Yeah.
Make it intense if you want. I mean, walk on the treadmill instead of run,
Right.
but put it at an incline and really walk up. That's fine. It's not about having to have gentle exercise. It's about not having traumatic exercise because
Mhm.
hurting yourself becomes too easy and too high a price.
Yeah. And
You
you
know?
talked about the food. Food choices can create low inflammation or high
Oh,
inflammation in the
sure.
body, and that has a cascading
Huge.
effect. And I have noticed even in the way I eat, and you mentioned that smaller, more
Yeah.
simplified, more, and I eat protein of various sources. I'm not a huge red meat eater, but I do have some protein. But the more plant-based I am, the more nuts and healthy fats, the better I feel.
Oh, there you go. See, that's your
Mhm.
body talking to you. Now,
Right.
and when you discover that, you can still do whatever you want to do. The
Mhm.
difference is now you know the consequences. Now you know what to expect when you eat one way versus another way. So I tell women, do food experiments. And,
Mhm.
the basic scientific method is you always isolate one thing at a time. So let's say you want to find out what it's like to be a vegan, but you're not keen on the idea and you really kind of love your meat and your dairy, whatever. But I say, look, just do a 2-week experiment,
Mhm.
just 2 weeks, and make it committed, totally committed. But for 2 weeks, only omit. Do actually, it's like 3 experiments. One is 2 weeks, omit nothing but the flesh, the animal, everything with a face. Okay,
Mhm.
everything with face. So that would be all the meat, fleshy kind of items. See how you feel. And in another 2-week experiment, you can omit just everything with a mother. So everything produced by an animal, all the dairy, all the
Mhm.
eggs, all the things that come from an animal. You can eat the flesh when you're doing that experiment,
Right.
just omit the products from an animal. And then in the third experiment, try omitting both. And the key is your body might absolutely love one of these to the extent where it changes your life tremendously. It may not,
Mhm. Right.
but no matter what happens, you can still do whatever you want. And you can obviously do this with anything else, with gluten, with sugar, with anything you want to explore. But there's probably an offending agent. There's
Or
probably
several.
an agent or several, and you'll get to where while you can't understand why your body doesn't
Yeah.
want this or that, you may absolutely love this or that emotional part of it.
Mhm.
But if your body says no more,
Yeah. You got to listen. You
you
got to
do.
listen. I love a good skinny margarita, but I don't sleep well after a skinny margarita.
What's
Dang
the what's the difference between a
it.
skinny margarita and a regular margarita? Because I don't. I know nothing, absolutely nothing. I'm
Well,
such a lightweight. I'm such a nerd.
they take the sugar out of it. So I'm thinking I'm being healthy
Oh,
here, right? I'm
that
just doing my
makes sense.
tequila and my lime juice and whatever. My body doesn't metabolize alcohol the way that it used to. I just don't sleep
Huh.
as well when I drink alcohol. So and a lot of women find that they
Yes.
find that they can't just handle alcohol the way they used to.
And a lot of women crave alcohol.
Mm.
Craving alcohol is the most common craving at the time of menopause.
Really? Is it
there are,
because we
there are
just want to get drunk through all of this?
I know. I think it's a stress reliever at first, and I
Yeah.
think time in life when you have so much going on and you're looking for that, way out to just, what do they say? Take the edge off,
Yes.
and it works that way at first,
Mm-hmm.
and then it starts doing other things to interfere with your sleep and
Yeah.
making you more anxious and all kinds of stuff. So it has detrimental long-term effects, but it has immediate, positive effects at the beginning.
Yeah.
But it becomes a very bad habit for a lot of women at menopause. And most
Sure.
women are unaware that that's such a big problem. And when they learn that from me, they are shocked, and they start connecting the dots,
Mm-hmm.
and they start saying, "Oh my God, I drink a glass of wine when I'm making dinner. I drink a glass of wine while I'm cooking dinner. Drink a glass of wine." They go, "Oh my God, I'm drinking about," and they realize, and I'm like, well, it's good to be aware of it,
Yeah.
and then you can do whatever you want. But knowing what's possible, what the symptoms are, most women don't know that there are like 22 symptoms. They have no idea. And unfortunately, because there are so many varied symptoms, most women go running to all these different doctors for each symptom. And they have
Now
no
you
idea
say you
all
say
what the
22 symptoms. Are these symptoms of menopause?
symptoms of menopause. There's anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Women start feeling anxious and they don't understand why. It's loss of estrogen, hot flashes, night sweats, insomnia, fatigue,
Yep.
mood swings, irritability, depression, dry skin, dry eyes, dry vagina, joints that start hurting, hair loss. Um, there's vaginal dryness, there's incontinence, urinary tract infections, weight gains, loss of your sex drive. I mean, it goes on and on. And women are like,
Yep.
all those all over the place. They're all over your whole body. You wouldn't think that they were all connected.
Yeah.
But think about it. If you lost your thyroid hormone, it's very much the same. You have symptoms all over the place that don't seem to make sense together, but they're
Mm-hmm.
all one thing. Okay? You have weight issues, you have skin issues, you have hair issues. It's all one thing.
Right.
That's how hormones work. They affect a realm of your body parts.
And I think a lot of women struggle because these symptoms are so broad and cascading that when they seek treatment, suddenly they find themselves on an antidepressant
Exactly.
or on something else. And it
Exactly.
becomes this mix. And of course, all of these drugs do come with serious side
Got it.
effects.
You
So
got it.
it makes the situation even worse.
It does. It does. And I liken menopause to a tree.
Mm.
You know, a tree where the trunk is supposed to have estrogen in it. But when the trunk is empty, all the branches of the tree are a consequence of no estrogen. So you've got the three big branches of the diseases: heart attack, osteoporosis, and Alzheimer's. And you've got all the little branches for the symptoms of estrogen deficiency. And you can do it one of two ways. You can treat each branch individually, or you can refill the trunk with estrogen. Your results may or may not be the same, but you have choices as to how you manage it. But you have to understand what the cause is. And when you understand they're all the same
Right.
problem, the root of the problem is the same for all of them, sometimes that helps you tremendously in doing whatever is going to work best for you.
What would you say to women? And I get this a lot too, because I talk about hormone replacement therapy and how it's worked for me. And like you said, what works for me isn't going to work for somebody else. It's very, very personal and customized. But a lot of women say to me, well, I've had reproductive cancer. I can't take hormones. What do you say to that?
I say that most people's information on that is completely, completely erroneous.
Mm,
I get woman after woman after woman who thinks she's not a candidate for something that has nothing, that is so off.
yeah.
And many times it's someone else in the family had some disease and they think they're not a candidate. It's like, wait a
Mm,
minute. Wait. You think you can't do something? I mean, remember, it's when you're talking about estrogen replacement, you're talking about replacement.
you
You're
had it
not taking a
before.
foreign substance. You're not taking something that you've never seen before, that your body's unfamiliar with. It's like taking insulin if you don't have insulin.
Mhm.
Would you not take insulin because someone else in the family had some? Okay, some things just, again, when you make sense of it, when you add the logic to it and go, well, does that make any sense to you?
Mm.
They're like, this is where fear comes in. You know, fear
Yes.
is the strongest emotion on our planet. And when there's fear involved, people don't think.
Right.
Fear is like a brain paralytic. I mean,
100%.
you've seen a lot of idiocy with COVID, right? I mean, just across the board, you've seen all kinds of things that just didn't make much sense. That's fear. Well,
Mm-hmm.
HRT is the COVID of menopause, really, when you think about it. I mean, it's that same kind of thing where the logic isn't there because the fear makes it impossible for people to just think clearly and logically, and common sense.
Yeah.
Common sense. And I just want women to have the facts and common sense and peace of mind. I'm big on peace of mind. When
Yes.
you know the facts, you have peace of mind, and then you can do whatever you want with the information. But at least you're not sitting there going, it's so confusing. I don't understand. Everything I hear is different. That's the problem, because half of what you hear is advertising and marketing and scare tactics. It's not the truth.
Yeah. And it's so much more than just feeling good in the moment.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
usually is the impetus, right? It's like I feel like I want to claw out of myself. I want to get out of this shell and feel good in the moment.
Yeah.
And while that is great and it is important because you have to function in your day-to-day life and you want to function well, the choices that we make now impact us later. And we
Absolutely.
always think about our reproductive health and reproductive cancers. Again, that's the media and the marketing, and that's the
Yep.
big scare tactic. But
Yep.
you're talking a lot about heart disease on your platform, which
Yeah.
is the number one killer of women.
It is.
And you are also really getting into mental health, brain health, and Alzheimer's because we are living older. So I want to talk about those two things because it's not just feeling good in the moment, it's about how we're going to live our later years.
Yeah. Heart attacks kill 1 out of every 2 women. And breast cancer kills 1 out of every 29 women. But how much attention do you see going
Mm-hmm.
to breast cancer versus heart
Mm-hmm.
attack?
Oh,
See, this is the court of public opinion.
$100.
This is how women get so misinformed.
Right.
They respond to all the hype. They hear what people are talking about and afraid of, and they think, oh, that must be my biggest worry. It's not. Heart attacks are the biggest worry. Now, the way to think about this is to realize that estrogen, quite literally, was your fountain of youth. It kept you young on the inside as well as on the outside. So when you lose your estrogen at menopause and you notice that, gosh, you start getting wrinkles and yeah, you're just getting older by the minute. Guess what's happening in the inside?
Yeah.
The same thing. So when it comes to your heart, estrogen kept your heart arteries really soft and supple.
I'm putting on my glasses to see this. All right, let's go.
Just a rubber tubing. Okay. So your
Okay.
arteries are nice and soft and supple. They were just nice like this.
Mm-hmm.
When you lose your estrogen, woman after woman after woman will say, gosh, my cholesterol is starting to get higher and higher and higher. Well, guess what's happening? You are starting to put plaque on the inside of your arteries, and they aren't as supple anymore. They're getting harder and harder. And with time, they become very, very hard.
Right.
Okay, this is what we call hardening of the arteries. It all starts with losing your estrogen, period. And you need to know that because you need to know that the biggest risk for most women is a heart attack, simply because by virtue of losing your estrogen, the process starts getting more and more rapid, and it starts your heart arteries start getting less and less pliable.
Right.
So this is why I teach about heart attack. And I do my videos in units. So the heart attack unit was 26 videos, and I just go systematically through every single thing you need to know in order to connect all the dots and understand everything you need to know. And it makes it so that you know exactly what all your options are. You know the pros and the cons, the benefits and the risks, the advantages and disadvantages, because there is nothing in this world that is all advantageous without any disadvantages. Everything is going to have trade-offs. Everything. No matter what you do, you're going to have trade-offs. It's like life. Your life is a bunch of trade-offs. Everyone's life is a bunch of trade-offs. If you're married, you have trade-offs between being married and single. If you have children, it's just no matter what you do with your life, there are trade-offs. And so understanding that heart attack is the biggest killer of women is the biggest deal of all.
But
And
it's fascinating, Barbie, because nobody would ever think that estrogen had anything to do with that. We have been conditioned to believe that it's diet, lifestyle, stress, heredity.
it's everything. That's the thing. It's everything. But for women, the heart attack rate skyrockets at the time of menopause. It's classic, absolutely classic. And then women here, they get confused because they say, well, I thought HRT causes heart attacks.
Right.
It's not confusing. It's all a matter of timing. And here's how it works. When it comes to taking HRT, it's very much like it would be if you lost your insulin. Your goal, if you were becoming an insulin dependent diabetic, would be to bridge the gap between losing your own insulin and replacing it with insulin replacement. Same with your thyroid. The goal is to not go for a period of time with no hormone because that's damaging to your body.
Right.
Well, guess what? Estrogen's no different. So when it comes to estrogen deficiency at menopause, it's always about timing as it pertains to your heart. If you start taking HRT right when you start becoming postmenopausal, when your arteries are still like this, they will stay like this. That's what estrogen did for them all along, and that's what it will continue to do for them. But if you don't take estrogen for, say, 10 years, guess what's happening? And if you start the estrogen after 10 years when your arteries are already hard, this is when it increases the risk of heart attack. It's all about timing. It's only a timing issue. It's not, is it good or bad? Or it's all about timing. And when women understand that, they're like, oh my God, it makes so much sense. Of course it does. Everything should make sense. Truth makes sense.
What do you say? Well, it's true, but the battle is getting to the truth, which sadly is a battle.
It's hard.
But thankfully, there are people like you out there that are breaking it down and helping women find it. What do you say to women? And I have a lot of women who are 60 plus, 65 plus, who never did HRT. And they ask, is it too late for me? What do you say to them?
Every woman has to figure out whether it's still right for her. And every woman has a benefit risk ratio. So here's what I say to women who come to me and ask me that. I take all their information and I tell them whether or not they have anything in their history that makes them a poor candidate, meaning makes it kind of risky. But I tell them that peace of mind is everything and that what they should do is go get a cardiac evaluation. Go to a cardiologist, get an EKG, get on a treadmill. They'll do a treadmill test. They'll tell you whether your heart's in good shape or not. And then you can decide what you want to do. Because the truth is, the vast majority of them are still great candidates. There's nothing magic about a period of time. It's just, we give these periods of times as if they're absolute in medicine a lot. They aren't.
Yeah.
But that is something that is very commonly done. And it's probably a disservice because we don't all age the same way. There's nothing magic about any certain age. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. But a lot of medicine is like that.
Yeah. This video must conclude with a discussion on Alzheimer's.
Okay.
We have all known people who have succumbed to it. It is increasing in record numbers as the population grows older, and the baby boomers are now getting into this next phase of their lives. Protecting our brains is critical, not just for us, because the impact is to everybody around us. So let's talk about HRT and Alzheimer's.
Well, when it comes to HRT, what you have to realize is that your brain is covered with estrogen receptors, which means estrogen is a fuel for your brain. It helps your brain function. This is why so many women will talk about brain fog. And they talk about feeling like they can't concentrate, that they can't remember things. That's because those estrogen receptors are empty. And that means your brain is going, well, I'm running on empty here. And that in and of itself is not Alzheimer's, but extrapolate that over the next 40 to 50 years. And guess what? What's really happening is your brain is shrinking. Your brain, literally, in my videos, I always do this. Your brain goes from this to this. Wow. Okay. Your brain is shrinking, and it's shrinking because it can't function, it can't work. You have to work your brain. If you don't work your brain, you're going to lose your brain. I can't think of another part of your body that is as critically dependent on utilizing what it is supposed to be doing as your brain. But the truth of the matter is, unfortunately, your brain's default mode is lazy. Just think about how exciting it feels to you when you find out that the computer can do something for you, or that something is really easy. Everyone wants quick, easy, fast.
Yes.
Okay, this is your brain sabotaging you, saying, I love it when something's quick and easy. Well, your brain is only going to stay functional if it has to work hard.
Yes.
And if you're not doing anything with your brain to make it work hard, you are going to lose your brain. It's going to happen. Okay. And I have to say, people aren't using their brains much anymore. You know, the statistical rate of Alzheimer's right now is 1 in 6.
Wow.
You know that in 9 years, the year 2030, the rate of Alzheimer's is going to be 1 in 3. Do you want to know the number one reason it's going to be so much higher, so much more quickly?
Why? Don't tell me it's this.
This is it.
This, because it does everything.
When was the last time anyone did math in their head?
Absolutely.
When was the last time you looked at anything in dictionary? People don't even go to encyclopedias anymore. They don't go to library. Okay. They think that information at their fingertips is the same as information in the brains, and it's not. I always say artificial intelligence breeds natural stupidity. And then the other things that harm your brain that you have total control over are all these things about our lifestyle. The phone and technology is the biggest culprit for doing one of the worst things in the world for your brain: distraction. Your brain survives on focus and deep thought and contemplation and just dwelling on something. But when your phone lighting up and your things beeping and things clicking and everyone bombarding you all the time, you're not focusing on anything.
Right. You're
constantly switching gears. That'll ruin your brain big time. And so a lot of what people could be doing to save their brains, they're not. They're busy, you know. Even television screens have all kinds of stuff, you know, bouncing up and coming into the corners of the screen. Everything you do that's technologically based, there's distractions built into it. And so most people they succumb to that and they put up with it. You do have to work actively hard at trying to avoid it. I mean, I don't have a single text in my life at all, ever, from anybody. No reminders. No, I treat everyone in my life, every merchant, every friend. I'm like, I do not text. Do not text me. I will not see it for days. My phone's off all the time and in another room. I mean, I don't use my phone for anything. I hate the thing. I absolutely hate the thing. But most people are using their phone. They don't go anywhere without it. And that distraction is a problem. In addition to that, it's all the basic things that are the rhythms of your body, like sleeping every night at the same time, you know, eating at the same time. It's the rhythms that were built into your body. Quit messing with them. I mean, all this stuff about changing how frequently you eat and changing this and changing it, all these things we change, it all adds up.
Right.
And the truth is, your body pretty much has a way of telling you what it really wants. And if we would just quit trying to manipulate it, we'd all be a lot better off. But I think Alzheimer's is one of the easiest things to avoid, but it's not easy. I mean, you have to do
work.
But it's you have so many options, things that are new, different, and difficult. Okay. New means, let's say you took piano lessons for a year when you were 10, and then you didn't play for 40 years. If you start playing the piano again, it's not new. You will be using old pathways in your brain. It'll be fun and good for you, but it's not new. Now, if you've never ever studied music in any way, and you start playing an instrument, that's new. Different. Let's say you speak Spanish and you decide to learn another language and you pick Italian.
It's Latin based.
If you can use what you know in Spanish to help you with Latin, they're practically the same. Now, if you pick Mandarin, that's new. That's different. If you learn Russian or Hebrew, okay. If it's completely different to where you can't use what you already have as a language base, then it's considered different. And difficult is the one that everyone hates the most because
because life is difficult and no one wants to add to it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
But you know how when you were in school, you had certain subjects that you found easy and others that were hard.
Sure.
And the ones that were hard, do you remember sitting there feeling like your brain would explode? Like
Yes.
you could feel your brain hurting.
Mm-hmm.
That is difficult.
Mm.
But see, as adults, we hate to feel like idiots. We hate to look like idiots. And so we avoid doing anything that doesn't make us look just super smart. And so our brains are just sitting there disappearing so that we can look smart. But the truth is, if you really want to save your brain, go do the things that you hate the most and that make you feel like the biggest idiot in the world. I mean, and it doesn't have to be academic. It can be anything that's hard for you. You know, for me, it'd be dancing. I'm the world's worst dancer, easily. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And it's the thing that has made my brain feel like it's going to explode more than anything ever. And
right.
Find what that is, or probably lots of things. I mean, I have lots of things I could go do to save my brain. I'm bad at all.
You know, I think what is so fascinating about this conversation is that it's really proving the point that it's not a magic bullet to fix all this stuff. And that the premise of this video is hormone therapy. And like you said, there are different kinds, but it's also shown how hormone therapy affects so many different areas of our lives to have us living healthy and well as we age. And it's not just hormone therapy, but it's a cascade of other therapies, behavioral therapies that come into play. And it's really a mindful practice. It's a wellness practice, and it's a learning practice, because if you don't know where to start, what to do, and where to go.
It's so true. And it's a matter of letting go of those expectations of quick fixes.
Yes.
This is the rest of your life, so don't look for a quick fix. And remember, you're not a robot. What you need is not going to stay the same. You are going to evolve, and your needs are going to change. And that is the whole idea. When you get the education and you know the facts, you can apply them wherever you are in the process. If all you do is use something because someone told you to, you have no idea how to modify that as things change, and they will change. That is the story of our lives. And so I think that's the power of the education.
Well, this has been so lovely. And on a selfish note, a great opportunity to spend time with my friend. But on a more important note, what a wonderful opportunity to help women out there and to start scratching the surface if they haven't done so already. And like I mentioned at the beginning, Barbie, I'm going to have all your links and information in the description portion of the video so they can find you. They can do a deep dive into your video series, or if they need to reach you directly, they can do that as well. But I thank you so much for your time. I know it's evening. You're in France, so it's evening time for you, and you're about ready to go to bed because you are a creature of habit.
I am so boring. I always say the healthier your lifestyle, the more boring your social life.
Well, that's true.
It's true. I'm proof.
And I love you to pieces.
So much. I love you too, Dominique. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Barbie.